Good morning, everybody. I would like to call the governing board meeting to order, April 22nd, 2021. If you are able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Okay. This is now the special organizational meeting that we're involved with right now. It's been called to order. Pledge of Allegiance has been said. Procedural notes are here. All the directors and directors-elects have been administered the oath of office and completed them, and they are on file. They also filled out the fiduciary conduct of interest forms completed and are on file. And with that, we are moving into the special organizational meeting for voting. I will now turn it over to the current secretary, Donna Maloney. Jim?
Good morning. Since there are 9 members of the board-elect, the majority for the governing board election for any office is 5. If there is only one nominee for an office, the official ballots will still be used. Tellers today are Karen Ropkin, Terry Wood, and Kathy Peterson. The first order of business is election of president. The floor is now open for nominations for president. Roberta.
Madam Chair, I nominate Sue Fitzsimons as president of the governing board.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I second that.
Thank you. Are you willing to accept the nomination for governing board president, Sue Fitzsimons?
Yes, I am.
The nominations for president are now closed. We'll now vote. The board executive assistant will distribute the ballots.
Mary, you can't vote for me.
Have all voted who wish to vote? The board executive assistant will collect the ballots. Be sure your ballot is folded in half.
Who cares?
Tellers will now count the ballots. Sue Fitzsimons has received 8 votes and has now received the majority of votes and has been elected governing board president. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. The floor is now open for nominations for vice president. Bob,
I nominate Donna Maloney for vice president.
is there a second?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Ann. Nomination for vice president are now closed, unless we have other. Oh, Harry, sorry.
I nominate Lou Mancuso.
Is there a second? Okay,
I'll second it.
second by Sharon.
Sorry.
Okay, any other nominations?
Madam President, may I say something prior to the close of the vice president nominees?
Is that allowed? I'm asking that parliamentarian.
I think so.
Very unusual. We did have a paragraph or so distributed to all of us prior to this time period so that we could read the background of each of the people. So,
I would ask.
no
that
comment or a comment?
It may be unusual, but is it permissible?
I would ask the group, I would ask the board if it's okay for him to speak.
Okay, let's take account who, Lou has asked to speak. Let's raise our hands. Those that feel that he should have a chance to speak, raise your hand and say, raise your hand. 4 people. And then it dies.
Very good, thank
Sorry.
you.
Okay, the nomination for vice president now closed, and now we'll vote. So the 2 choices are either Donna or Lou. Have all voted who wish to do so? The board executive assistant will collect the ballots. Be sure it's folded in half. And now the tellers will count the ballots for us. With a vote of 5, having received a majority of votes, Donna has now been elected governing board vice president. Congratulations, Donna.
Point of order. She was never asked if she would serve.
Oh, Donna, excuse me. Donna, are you willing to accept the position?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry. Yes, you're exactly right. The floor is now open for nominations for secretary.
Madam President, I nominate Lisa Vines.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Bob. Are you willing to accept this position, Lisa?
Yes.
Thank you.
Am I allowed to nominate myself?
Yes.
All right, I'm running for secretary of the board and I'm willing to serve.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, the nominations for secretary are now closed. We'll now vote. The board executive assistant will distribute the ballot. And the two choices are between Lisa and Roberta. Really quiet. Okay, be sure that your ballot is voted in half. Has everyone voted who wants to? Okay, the governing board executive assistant will collect the ballots. And the tellers will now count the ballots. With a vote of 5, having received a majority of votes, Lisa Fines has now been elected governing board secretary. Congratulations, Lisa.
Thank you.
The floor is now open for nominations for treasurer.
I nominate Ann Brown.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Thank you, Donna and Lisa. Oh, yeah. Well, Ann, are you willing to serve?
Yes, I am, Madam President, to be.
Any other nominations? Okay, the nominations for treasurer are now closed and we'll vote. The board executive assistant will distribute the ballots. Be sure your ballot is folded in half when you complete it. Everyone has voted? Okay, the executive assistant will collect the ballots. And the tellers will now count the ballots.
Madam President, can we ask what the total count for secretary was? You did say that Lisa got 5 and she's the secretary.
Right.
But can we know what the total vote count was?
It's okay to, okay. It was 5-3. And 1 abstention.
Thank you.
Papers are not in front of me anymore. With a vote of over 5, having received a majority of votes, Ann has now been elected to governing board treasurer. There were 8 for and 1 abstention. Congratulations, Ann. Okay, thank you very much for the voting process, and I welcome the new slate of officers. Looking forward to working with all of you for next year. Okay, now I will adjourn this organizational meeting and we'll move into the regular governing board meeting. Thank you.
Thank you all. I will call the meeting to order, the regular governing board meeting. There is a quorum of all current board members present and governing board elect. Are there any additions or corrections to the March 18th regular governing board meetings? Hearing none, they will stand as published. Okay, good. At this time, I'd like to have Katie Van Luton come up, please. This is one of those situations where we want to recognize one of our outstanding employees for service that's done in here, especially for work, not only with the Village Store, but with each one of the clubs that have come up. As president, I wanted to do this for 2 reasons. A, is that it's a double-edged sword. We want to recognize the great work, but we also are saddened that she's leaving. Hopefully do other good things when you retire. Isn't that what we all do up here? I'm not saying that. Okay, and I have a statement I'm going to read. The governing board would like to recognize Katie Van Luton for her 16 years of dedicated service to the Village Store, the arts, crafts clubs, and the entire Sun City West community. I think that's the part that's important. It's not just the store, it's the whole community. Katie's been an exemplary employee. She is truly appreciated by her fellow employees, club members, Sun City West residents. She will be missed when she retires. I think we can all agree on that one. Do you agree? And I got a lot of nods ahead from staff here. I like that. Okay. During her tenure, Katie transitioned our fares from cash and check to credit cards. She explained and modified the fare layouts to accommodate ever-changing clubs and a request for the best displays of their wares. During the fair, she seems everywhere all at once, even when she was hobbling around on a broken foot, which happened more than once. Is that true? Oh, boy, I'm telling you. Through sheer willpower, she has managed to keep the rain from ever spoiling any of the events. Throughout the many challenges of her 16 years, Katie has held firm with policies and standards, which have always been the big, warm place in her heart for the artists and the creations of the one-of-a-kind merchandise that we have, and the customers who come in and appreciate Sun City West after seeing the unique items that our residents create. Katie's fellow managers will miss her weather reports, her funny personality stories, and unique insights into the community. The board wishes a happy and fun-filled retirement. We cannot thank you enough for your service. And as my thing, we have a certificate, but that's it. Martin will give us pictures, whatever. But I wanted to thank you so much. Now I gotta go back to my chair and do work. Thank you, fellow board members. Next on this, EOM reports. Sue?
I move to approve the consent agenda and accept the April 2021 EOM reports as filed for information.
Thank you very much. Any objections? Moving along. Staff reports. This month, we are going to hear from Super Pat O'Hara and golf. Pat, wherever you're comfortable, you know that.
Good morning, everyone. I have a few slides today to share with you on golf operations and what we've been up to for the last 30 days or so. But before I get started, I'd like to acknowledge the staff members at each of our golf courses and golf operations office. The 63 starters, 22 custodians, 14 ball pickers, 27 player assistants, 7 call center employees. We've got 3 data entry staff members, 3 golf course managers, and 4 support employees in golf ops for a total of 143 employees worked throughout the COVID-19 pandemic with little or no time off. These are the folks that kept our golf shops running this past year. We had a few employees who contracted COVID-19, took some time off, and happy to say they all came back to work. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to all of them. Job well done. All right, for today's presentation, I've got a few slides. We have all gone through this COVID-19, and I'm happy to say it's getting better. Don't know the longevity of this, but we've gone through a lot of changes, limited people in the shops, one rider per cart, things of that nature. So we're happy to see some of this in our rear view mirror. But we want to make sure we stay healthy. We want to use common sense, keep the group small, keep your distance, and if you're sick, please stay at home. On Todd's side, there was a lot of changes in golf. We had foam rings in the hole. We weren't touching flag sticks. We took away the rakes and ball washers and club scrubs, but those are coming back. Pro Shop, we're allowing people without masks in and allowing bigger groups in the Pro Shops as well. A couple upcoming changes is going to be tables and chairs or limited seating in the Pro Shop. Right now we don't have any seating, but we're going to relax that rule as well. And then you'll start seeing the number of carts out on the golf course reduced. And I'm hopeful that'll really help Todd in his transition this spring. So a couple reminders. We're always trying to keep our carts 30 feet or so away from the greens and tees. If you're on the cart path, that's always a good thing. Keep up with the group in front of you, and please follow the direction of the player assistants. And again, 90-degree cart path is huge for us. This is where we keep the carts on the path throughout the play of the hole as much as possible. When you hit your tee shot, you drive your cart up the path, cut over at a 90-degree angle, hit your shot, and hopefully return back to the path. So a few slides on past events. We had a 3-person scramble this last March. This was a learning process for us. We really liked the format, but we didn't enjoy the pace of play. It took a little over 5.5 hours to play. We played in sixums. That's one of the reasons. but it was enjoyed, and we had a lot of players. We had 114 players participate. Here are all the winners. I'm sure they're probably either resident neighbors or friends of yours. Some pictures of the championship flight. I'm sure you'll recognize some of them. First flight, we had 3 men's flights and a ladies' flight. It was a great day to play golf. A couple of other events that we hosted during our last 30 days. The softball club hosts their annual Tin Cup. We were able to pull that one off. They did 2 shotguns at 2 courses and had over 244 players. And the 6th annual Natterburg Foundation for the Natterburg School District took place on Saturday, April 10th, and it was over at Stardust. The big challenge for us for that event was, out of the 100 players, 80 or so were from outside the community, so we had to transport carts over to Stardust to get them to play, and that worked out real well. Let's see here. A couple other footnotes here. Typically, we have about 16 hole-in-ones a month. I think I counted on these 2 slides. Oop, there we go. Oop. There we go. According to this slide, we had 20 hole-in-ones on these 2 slides. So golf is still popular, and they're making a bunch of hole-in-ones, with and without the foam in the cup. This is Todd's schedule for aerification and course closures during the summer. We're looking for a big closure for Stardust and Trail Ridge this year. A lot of big projects going on. And then I just want to mention the green team. Kathy and Jerry Stevens do a wonderful job running the green team for golf operations. Have over 500 active members. This is our feeder program for our beginner golfers. And they call Stardust their headquarters, and they stay busy, and they're continuing to stay busy through April and May. All right, here's a slide of a promotion that we're doing for those that aren't familiar with this. At 6 of our golf courses, excluding Grandview, we have Regency Specialties. They're a dermatology firm that have agreed to sponsor a gold ball. And it looks like this. It's got their logo on it. And we put 3 or 4 of these in each machine. When somebody receives this in their bucket of balls that they pay for, this allows them to get a free drink at the pro shop. So we've been doing this for the last 45 days or so, and it's been going pretty well. What we're finding, though, is not everybody's turning this ball back in. It looks pretty nice. I think they're playing with it, and then they'll turn it in a little bit later. So if you see a gold ball, that's what it represents. All right. One of the board members, Sharon Heddick, asked a question a month or so ago, and in response to our capital expenditure of buying some new golf carts. And she asked a great question on, have you guys thought about buying lithium carts? And for those of you that might not be aware of this, we do have 136 gasoline carts in our fleet, and they're broken out by each golf course on this slide. I've seen lithium golf carts. I've talked to other establishments, other golf pros, other management companies. Some of them are going to them, and some of them are staying away from them. And on these slides, I just wanted to address her question. Would it be a good idea for Sun City West to have lithium carts? So here is our fleet. 100% of our fleet of 136 carts are 5 years or older. 52% are over 10 years. So we hang on to our carts, and we run them in a pretty aggressive fashion. And Rick Brooks does a wonderful job maintaining them for us. So in looking at the prices of lithium versus gas, The research indicates that we're going to pay $4,900 for a gas card. For a lithium, it's $7,500. We do have expenses with gas. Annually, we do a preventive maintenance program. That's with the gas and the program, it's about $450 a year. But our cart barns are set up for gas. We're not wired for electric. So on the right column, you'll see the cost of lithium. The batteries are going to be warranted for commercial use. They're 5-year warranties. For residential use, they're offering an 8-year warranty. To retrofit our cart barns, it would cost us $20,000 to $40,000 per cart barn. So at the bottom, you can see the total buy-in. Down at the very bottom, we're scheduled to buy 25 carts this year for $122,000. If we bought the same carts, it would be $187,000. So gas carts versus electric. Gas for us fits us pretty well because of our setup, because of our needs, because we have to have our carts turned multiple times a day. And electric is coming along. It's getting better. So it's something that we want to continually look at. But they do have some challenges. So a quick overview, if we replaced carts at each of our facility, we could do it all at once, or we could do it from facility to facility. These are the numbers that we're looking at. So as you can see, that the difference down in the bottom right, the difference in cost is $353,000. And the challenge we have is that we don't have enough carts. So our goal this summer is to add 15 carts that we're not going to trade in, keep them, and expand our fleet. And I think that would be the best way to use the capital money for our particular instance. Now, going forward, we'll look at this yearly and see if the improvements match what we need, and if so, we'll make the jump. All right, any questions or comments?
Directors, any comments for Pat? Sharon?
First, thank you very much for putting that together. I really appreciate it.
You bet.
One of the things I'd just like to ask maybe is if we could maybe even do a pilot program with a few to see how they worked or not going forward in the future at some point. Because as I said before, at some point in time, we're looking at 2030 of being electric in a lot of areas, including golf carts. So we have to, if we have to change, we, as you said, need to be looking forward at that piece.
Correct. And our rep dropped off lithium, so if anybody here would like to see it, it'll be at the Golf Ops tomorrow, as well as a few days next week. And somebody can look it over, drive it. It's very nice. I think it is the wave of the future. I think we've just got a little ways to go before we make that big jump.
I agree. Thanks very much, Pat.
You're
Really
welcome,
Sharon.
appreciate it.
Directors, any other comments? Members of the audience, any comments about this? Hearing none. Pat, thank you so much. Thank you for giving us real good information on
All right,
this.
thank you. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. Next on the list, it is April Sports Pavilion Committee report by Sue.
Thank you, George. We're pleased to report that Barry has been able to increase the revenues and the usage due to the releasing of some of the COVID restrictions from prior time during the year. And the exciting news is the shuffle room redesign is back on the plan. Our general manager, Bill Schwind, has approved moving some furniture, adding a few tables, and creating the gathering space concept. And the new space solutions and arts and designs committee will be involved in, and especially the arts and design, in giving their expertise in terms of the design that we might be able to develop. The idea is to do more of a revamping of the space at this time, with the goal of making additional improvements if the interest in the draw from the community is positive. The overall concept, as originally forwarded to the governing board by the committee, remains the same. The space would be multi-use. You could use it for meetings without rearranging the furniture, and we are figuring you could accommodate up to maybe 75 people in that location and use some of the morning times when people are probably not going to use it as heavily for a gathering place. We would retain the Wii bowling in that area. We would move the electronic darts into the room and the shuffleboard table that is used in the lobby area of the bowling alley. One of the giant concerns that we had when we started this project, and this has been talked about in this committee for several years, is the relocation of the actual shuffleboard club. And they have been, the plan is to have them relocated kind of outside behind the Z Club wall and using 4 of those bocce court areas. The mats that they have for shuffleboard fit very nicely into the depression where the bocce courts are, and that will also hold the beads that they use to be able to make the game play well. And should bocce need those extra 4 courts when they have tournaments, the shuffleboard mats can be rolled up and the beads, I guess, vacuumed. So that should not affect what bocce is doing. So I think that was a good solution for that particular group. And the Sports Pavilion, of course, is closing April 24th through May 16th, 17th, because of the new scoring system that has been identified as needing replacement, and that's being installed. So the entire building will be closed during that 3-week period, and this revamping of the gathering place will, take place at that time. So that's our report. Thank you.
Thank you. Directors, any comments or questions? Jim? Turn. There you go.
Sue, I've been in discussion with the shuffleboard people in the past, and they hate these mats. They just don't like them. They don't work. Are you looking at any better solution to the problem?
Well, Riley is really taking over that responsibility because that's not my club's responsibility. I believe that he is addressing
We'll
that
ask him
issue.
to step up to the microphone and answer that for you,
Thank
Jim.
you.
Thank you. I have met with Shuffleboard. In fact, I met with them 2 days ago, and we are looking at new mats and a new configuration. As Sue had mentioned, we are looking at other locations where they might be able to put out the new mats.
Okay, so the plan is continuing to change.
Yes,
Oh, okay.
it's evolving.
All right, that's great. I'm glad that that you're conversing with that club to make it best for them.
And they've been really wonderful to work with.
Yeah. Well,
So-
one of the concerns that I always had with this club is that how would they ever get new members when you don't see those shuffleboards out, except for the few times a week that they would meet. And I think that by making them in a visible spot, they would have a chance to get some interest in other folks in joining their club.
I certainly agree with the choice of spots, but I still go back to the question. You're telling me, Riley, that the shuffleboard people are comfortable with these mats?
No, they're not, sir. We reviewed them with the president of the club just the other day, and there are some that have degraded quite a bit, and we're in the process of figuring out a way that we can update those mats for them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other director's comments? Hearing none. Thank you very much. Thank you for your filing. And you're next. Filing.
Excuse me. The March 2021 financials have been reviewed and accepted by the Budget and Finance Committee, and they have been filed.
Thank you, Ann. Next is, we're moving into new business. First, the motion, Roberta, about Canal Crossing.
I move that the governing board approve the Sun City West Canal Crossing Project Slope Easement Parcel Number 232-25621 as stated in the certificate of corporate resolution dated 4/22/2021.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion? Bob is a second. Comments or questions, discussion? Jim?
Yeah, maybe I've lost my mind, but this has got to be the first time I've heard about this.
Well, this is what it was. It's a strip of land that's approximately 20 feet long by 10 feet wide on Prada Drive, where the golf course and Prada and 135th meet, as you can see on the screen up there. And when it rains, it floods out. And the county needed us to approve an easement for them to repair and replace that flooding.
Okay.
And what it is the other problem, not a problem. I don't know the exact gentleman at the county. I forgot his name. However, they need us to have a resolution in order to move this forward for them to have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Are they maintaining it then afterwards? If they have the easement?
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, this requires a vote. Right now, I'll call for the question. Lou?
Approve.
Sharon?
Approve?
Roberta?
Approve.
Ann?
Approve.
Sue?
Approve.
Donna?
Approved.
Bob?
Approve.
Yes.
Carried unanimously. Will the executive assistant make sure that gets put onto the appropriate form for the county? Thank you very much. Next is Ann.
Thank you, President George. I move that the governing board approve the Chartered Clubs Tax Status Special Committee as proposed.
Okay, there was some, and now I'm going to jump in on this one. There was some confusion last time about whether it was going to be a subcommittee of BNF or a special committee of the board. After we've talked about it, we didn't want to add another layer into it as BNF, and it is because it's a tax status not only the clubs, but of our association. It should be a subcommittee of the board. And the special committee. I said sub, sorry. Apologize, mea culpa. It will be a special committee of the board with the approval of consensus of the board on there, and is willing to chair that committee also. Jim, is there a consensus on this?
Well, first I second that motion.
Okay, you can second.
Thank you.
Okay.
Can we
All
have
right.
a discussion?
I'm sorry?
Can we have a discussion about this?
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Can we have a discussion about this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there a discussion? Sharon, obviously.
In regards to the in regards to the special committee, is there a possibility of putting Harry on this committee since he's the IRS person on our board that would have the most experience?
As the chairman has been appointed to the committee, it is up to the chair to select the committee. The president gives the committee chair the spot. It's up to the chair to serve that.
Yes, but the committee's already been filled and we haven't even voted on it yet.
Well, I don't understand. The committee.
We haven't voted on the special committee, but it's already been filled. Because Ann has been asking people to be on a committee that we haven't appointed yet. There must have been some other discussion that I missed.
There has been none. We have to approve the committee at the governing board level at our meeting today. If we want to have it, it will be for the tax status and tax status only that reports to us. The treasurer is going to chair that. At that point, they can select a committee of who they want there. That's where we are. Yes, you may.
Thank you, Sharon. At the board workshop, it was mentioned that people could make their applications to be on a committee through the normal application process, which I have received many. I have talked to some people with the understanding that if the committee is formed, they would be on it. I've also had a discussion with Harry Stanenbaum about it. Thank you.
Any other comments? Any other discussion about this? Hearing none, there's consensus around the table on this one. Sue, start with you.
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Ann? Yes. Roberta?
Yes.
Sharon?
I abstain.
Yes.
Yes. is carried with one abstention. Okay, next thing is facts and findings for the metal shop. Carl, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. President, directors of the board. I would like to present to you today facts and findings for the metal shop addition project.
Excuse me, Carl, I'm just going to interrupt you. Does everybody understand what facts and finding is here? Anybody on the board doesn't know what facts and finding is? Okay, thank you.
The subject of this facts and findings is for the metal shop addition, additional fund request. Our issue is the metal shop addition project has been approved within the fiscal year 2021 budget in the amount of $570,000. After advertising and receiving qualified bids on April 12, 2021, it was determined that the project requires the authorization of additional capital improvement funds over the allowable amount authorized by the general manager. A little background. The proposed metal shop was approved in FY 2021 budget. During the budget process, FY21, the governing board was provided a cost analysis during staff budget presentations of the range of magnitude, an ROM, to construct the addition. Foresight Design and Construction provided the ROM cost estimate of $646,035, which included the contingency of 15%, $96,905, a special permit allowance, $4,000, and the cost of payment performance bonds, $6,451. The governing board deliberated and voted on a revised cost of $570,000 to be placed in the budget for approval. The governing board also voted that any additional project cost was to be funded by the metal shop. Please note that our club participation numbers reflect that the metal club throughout the COVID pandemic still maintains 540 active members, and on an annual basis, the club provides over $25,000 on the maintenance and upkeep of all tools and machinery operating within the facility. The metal club also provides unique community need by assisting owner members with various types of repairs within Sun City West's homes, garages, fencing, gates, yards. The metal club also averages $14,000 in annual sales from creation and replacement of vacation-oriented mailboxes as well as trash can lid coverings. The facts and findings. It was determined in FY 1920 that the metal club facility was operating in unsafe conditions along with a variety of easement violations. After committee review and the budget process, a decision was made to fund the renovation, providing the necessary safety remedies and mitigation of code and easement violations. On April 12, 2021, CFO Pete Finelli received sealed bids for the metal shop addition. 5 professional general contracting firms were invited. 2 vendors provided qualifying sealed bids. 3 declined to provide proposals within the bidding time frame due to pre-engaged projects, lack of subcontractor availability, or lack of available materials. The $653,495 qualifying low bid has been fully vetted and is ready to be awarded to Derrick Builders. Due to a current long lead time of materials, Derrick Builders' proposal includes a time frame of acceptance by April 23, 2021. This time frame is needed to secure the necessary steel roof joist material availability and a guarantee to be available by September 2021. Any delay to these terms constitutes joist materials being delayed until January of 22 and a project cost increase due to delay in starting the project until November 2021. To date, $49,589.57 has been invested from the approved project funds for the development and delivery of architectural plans, grading and drainage plans, county assessor parcel combining, Maricopa County required plan of development, the pre-application process, our NESHAP permit report for asbestos, AFMA plan review and permit, as well as the Maricopa County plan review and permit fees. Delaying this project would jeopardize the funding mentioned above, as the project would then need to restart the permitting review and approval process. As you are well aware, the current economy is having an effect on the construction and manufacturing industry. This in turn is playing a key role in the deliverables needed to complete the project, primarily labor and materials. The additional funds being requested for this project can be found within the project savings of previously constructed projects within the approved FY 2021 capital budget. We have closed purchase orders totaling $2,819,838,000 in completed projects. Savings from those completed projects is $321,325. Approval of this project will not require any increases to the overall budget, but a transfer of funding within the current fiscal year's approved capital improvement fund. Concluding, the qualified bid from Derrick Builders confirms the accuracy of the range of magnitude estimate provided by Foresight Design and Construction. No parameters of the metal shop's need have changed. The approval of the additional funds required to finalize a Rec Center Sun City West builder agreement should be approved. All Maricopa County planning and development pre-construction requirements have been approved, along with all requirements imposed by the Arizona Fire and Medical Authority. Action requested. The general manager is requesting additional funds from capital improvement project savings within the FY 2021 budget in the amount of $133,100 to secure the agreement with the general contractor, Derrick Builders, for the Rec Centers of Sun City West Metal Shop addition, allowing us to meet the April 23rd, 2021 deadline for availability and cost of materials. Thank you.
Thank you, Carl. Roberta?
In line with a Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve additional funds from capital improvement project savings within the FY 2021 budget in the amount of $133,100 to secure the agreement with general contractor Derrick Builders for the metal shop addition, allowing the association to meet the April 23rd, 2021 contractor deadline for availability and cost of materials.
Thank you, Roberta. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second. Open discussion. The president's going to just make a couple statements on this one. First, in our RR&Ps, the club requesting new items for their sole club use is responsible for 100% of that expense. However, if the new items are requested by the club and shared with another club or the community, the financial responsibility of new items shall be determined in appropriate bodies of the association. That's why we're here. Couple things. This has been ongoing for a number of years. The thoughts that I had were simple. When we sit around this table and look at the dollars and what needs to be done, everybody's looking to put a point of who's responsible for it. Okay? And in my mind, there were three things that were responsible. Is the Metal Club responsible for a portion of this? Yes, because they have used the building in the condition and they made it that way. Is the governing board responsible for this? Yes, we are, because up until 3 years ago, we had 15 property revisions that went through there for 15 years and said it was okay. So we're just as culpable as the metal shop is. And third and foremost, too, and third also, we also have a responsibility for our senior supervisors to be inspecting our properties, whether they're at one of our campuses or off campus, i.e. like the metal shop is and the ag club is. So for so many years, we have had and put our supervisor in there and said that A, it's okay. So I just want to make it clear that if we are looking to point the blame on this, it points at all of us at the same time. And I just wanted to make sure that we all knew that, because this is not an issue of having who's at fault, is how do we fix it. And that's my only statement. Discussion from everybody else. Jim?
First of all, I'm a member of the Metal Club. This thing, as they pointed out, has been dragging on forever. It's time to put a closure on it. For $133,000 or 100 and whatever it is, if we didn't go ahead with this now, trust me, it will be twice that or whatever. This is the time to put a close to this thing and get it done.
Thank you, Jim. Bob?
Yeah, just want to say is that this is not only to come into a lot of conformity with rules, regulations, ordinances, whatever you have. It's the safety of also of our owner members that work in that place. I was on the property committee the year before Roberta, and boy, that was terrible over there. So we do have to do something. And as Jim just said, for $133,000, it's fitting.
I'm just going around. Donna, you have any questions about this?
Carl, has the metal shop been asked if they have any funds to contribute to this overage?
The metal shop has never changed their opinion on the things that were discussed in last year's approval cycle.
Okay, previously, when we approved the $570,000 last year, I remember, if I am correct, that the metal shop was to be responsible for any overages over the $570,000. And I realized this $133,000 is due to somewhat COVID and material inflations. But I just feel that at a minimum, metal shop could have been asked if they have anything to contribute to this.
The metal shop has been made aware of the full cost of this bid, and we did have discussions. And again, no opinions have changed on what they understood that could be a responsibility. But at this time, I know that we have other discussions of responsibilities of what clubs are doing as far as loans or anything like that, that's just not been cycled through or worked on. And I think the general manager probably could answer better.
Yeah, Donna, I would like to answer to that. And I know we had a conversation yesterday about this, and have they been asked? And the answer is yes. They do have a bank account. They have a checking account, and they have a capital savings account that they are responsible for as an independent 501c7 club. Like George and or Carl mentioned in that report, they do their own maintenance on all of the $500,000 worth of equipment that they have in that shop. They buy new equipment and they maintain with what they have with the money that they do have. So in their account, they have about a $60,000 capital balance that could be shared with this particular project. But if you strip them of that money, we now have a problem of who's maintaining the equipment. And so it's a little Peter and Paul thing. And so that's kind of where they're at. Can they raise money and pay back a particular loan or contribute to this? They certainly could. But I think as the committee that was just formed is going to see, I think that these 501c7 clubs that we have are in a little bit of a dilemma when it comes to the IRS and how much receipts over the years they bring in as far as an exempt-based organization. So it's tricky. What happened last year with the governing board anointing the fact that any overage could be paid by these clubs, last year the IRS issue was not present. And so we have a little bit of a dilemma that we're trying to fix, enabling these clubs to continue to do what they do, making crafts and enjoying themselves, but also playing by the rules within the IRS tax code. Hence, what George presented earlier, since this club does a lot of work for the community, as written in the RR&Ps and the bylaws, it really is a responsibility of the organization, I think, to step up. I brought this to the attention of the organization, I think 2 weeks on my job here as general manager. I cited it as a safety problem. It's a bad safety problem. We have a huge liability at that facility with owner members using that day in and day out. And we have an easement problem, plural. And so those need to be remedied. I learned the hard way how things work through this organization, a little different than government, but through the committee process and the budget process, we've gone through this 2 years now because of the funding issue. We had that resolved, and then as luck would have it and the stars aligned, it's the metal shop again getting beat up over this particular rise in cost and materials and labor. It's unfortunate. If I could take the metal shop out of this facts and findings, and as Carl is fixing the foundations over at the Palm Ridge Recreation Center, if he were to find out that that foundation is in worse shape than it actually is, and this $113,000 was needed there, I'm not sure we'd have an issue here about talking with it. I think it's a structural problem. It needs to be fixed, and I think the board would move forward in fixing that. The same thing abides with the metal shop, and I'll just leave it at that. But can the club contribute money? Yes, they can. Do you want to ask them for it? That's a board decision, but I think the responsibility lies.
Donna, anything else?
No, thank you.
Well, thank you. Sue?
So I'm understanding this, if they have $60,000, that is the amount that it takes to repair those machines on a yearly basis?
On average, they're doing about 25,000, but I am not in a position to tell you
Sure.
at the age of those machines and how things break down, where they are along those lines. That's really a club decision, but that's as they have been operating over the past umpteen years. That's what they've been doing as far as they budget, because they have an account to pay the craftsmen after they sell product, and they bank money in order to buy new equipment and to
Sure.
maintain what they have, or else that responsibility would then fall on us as well.
Okay, so that's a common thing among all clubs, that they have to repair and fix the equipment that they have. That's not anything different. Might be a larger amount of money with this club. So, Carl, when I add up the numbers, it sounds like now, instead of $570,000 that was approved by the board last year with difficulty, the whole project now is costing $760,000?
No, I believe the math on it is approximately 704. Is that correct, Pete?
704. Okay, thank you.
Anything else, Sue?
And Mr. President, may I just add
course.
to Sue, isn't it correct that the metal shop has a checking account with approximately $40,000 in it that they use for their everyday expenses, correct?
I believe that is correct. They did have a pop-up sale over the weekend where the village store is currently closed. That pop-up sale generated $38,000 for the metal club after sales tax, and the 10% that goes back into their capital fund. That checkbook is used to pay the craftsmen who created the products that was sold. So that checking account is a bit fluid.
Anything else, Donna?
No, thank you.
Okay. Oh, thank you. Ann?
Does the metal shop own all the equipment that is in it?
All, probably not. I would call Russ up. I mean, there are some things obviously that the association owns, but a lot of the machinery is theirs.
So
Crafting
if they
machines.
needed something replaced,
On them.
it would be their responsibility to replace it?
Yes, ma'am.
Of that, you said they had $500,000 of equipment. Do we know how much of that they will be replacing?
I'll defer to Russ.
No, we would have no way of knowing what they're replacing, when they're replacing. We don't keep tabs on that. The ugly truth for clubs, they maintain their own equipment. However, it belongs to the recreation centers of Sun City West. So we own everything. However, we do not touch, we do not maintain their stuff. They do it themselves, whether it be an outside service or in-house. It's their funds, not mine. We just take care of the building and the power that feeds the equipment. So.
Thank you for that. No further questions, thank you.
Roberta?
All right, is this 133,000 in addition or subtract from the total amount?
In addition. From the original 570. Okay, not the 7. It's 570 plus the 133. And the other thing is that if we do not move forward with it, we will, Carl, you can definitely correct me on this one. We'll also lose the 50 we've invested in it in the permit fees because they have a time frame on them too. So we'd be starting from square one once again. Okay. Any other question? Sharon?
Okay, first of all, I'm in favor of doing, of the 133,000 so that we can get it fixed for the safety reasons. I'm just questioning the tax part of the 501c7. We're raising $38,000. We're back into the same situation of a club loaning us money or paying off what we owe. About 2 months ago or a month and a half ago, when we had the executive meeting, I asked the question of whether or not we couldn't have a separate category for some of these clubs. I don't know where that question ever stood with the attorney, because this would be one of the clubs, for example, that I'm referring to, of changing a status of being a club and reporting directly to the rec center. So has that going to be covered in the meeting?
100%.
Okay, thank you, because this would be one of those issues.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Lou?
I am in agreement, and I appreciate Bill's comment about the 501c7s. I think until that issue is resolved, we take the metal club's funding out of the equation. Once that issue is resolved, we know the tax implications, and we can move forward if we want to, I wouldn't say assess the metal club, but at least discuss with the metal club some reimbursement to the rec center. So I am in favor of it, although when we look at range of magnitude, they were looking at about 100,000. It comes in at 133. That's a 33% delta. Seems a little high, but I'm still in favor of it. Thank you.
Any other discussion on this? If not, I will call for the question. We need a majority vote on this. And what I'll do is I'll start with Roberta. Why not? You made the motion. Let's start with you.
Aye.
Sharon?
Aye.
Lou?
Aye.
Ann?
I approve.
Sue?
Yes.
Donna?
No.
Yes.
Bob? Yes. So carried by a vote of 7-1. Thank you. Thank you all much. Thank you, Carl. Don't go too far. You're going to be doing the dance soon up there. I'm only kidding. Next one up. Madam Secretary, you're next on the list here.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the governing board approve the date change language on page 38, subparagraph A of the Charter Club's Rules, Regulations, and Procedures.
Un momento. There's a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
By Bob. Is there any other discussion on this? Lou?
Why?
At the last Charter Club Committee meeting, Carl Wilhelm presented a timeline and flow chart for Charter Club projects. And his request in part of that was for clubs to be able to submit their request by July 1st instead of September 1st. That thereby giving him time to be able to get data together to present to the clubs for consideration and moving forward for their capital projects. So this is to be in line with that addendum.
Great, thanks. Appreciate the explanation.
No problem. Directors, any other comments or questions on this? Ann?
Well, I understand what they're trying to do. I just think it's kind of making it, dragging out the budget process, because this will be part of the budget. And I think about the clubs. Of course, I know a lot of them are dark in the summer, but I just, if the clubs want to do this, that's fine. I just have a few concerns about it.
And Carl is going to answer that question for you, since I see him waving at the podium.
I know this is new, what Donna is bringing up. This is actually a solve to the budget cycle problem. So the thinking behind it is the new president is generally taking office in January, and July 1st allows that club and that new leadership to evaluate their club needs in a 6-month time frame. as opposed to needing 9 months. I don't think that's unreasonable. If you haven't been in your club, if you've been in your club operating and leading for 6 months, I think you know what you need as a club leader. This also helps that it's not just 3 months before a new club leader comes in. It helps in our addendum that we have in our FR1, in our policies for FR1 forms of any community member or governing board director or a staff member bringing new project ideas, and then the CR13s that clubs bring forward. So again, with this focusing on the clubs, the FR1s that come from all other categories that still stay in that by September timeline, this will help us get better information while everybody's gone through the summer, and then I can start the budget list, if you will.
Okay, thank you, Carl. I
Welcome.
appreciate that.
Any other? Yes, Jim?
Well, Carl, you confuse me more. I agree with Ann. I think this is going to be a problem for the Budget and Finance Committee trying to solve this thing, isn't it?
It's moving it back.
Yeah.
So no, it's moving it back, Jim. And I thought of it this way. I was concerned about that too. But when you're talking about it, having a club president, let's just say it's the well, since the metal club's hot, why not?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. They're going to be able to say, we have a capital need. And the president's been in place at the metal club for 6 months because they get put in January. Okay, and what he's going to do is say, we need a capital project. We need an ice skating rink behind our metal club. He's going to be able to say, that's what we'd like to have as a capital improvement. To that point, he's going to go to Carl and say, okay, this is what we're looking for to have put into the budget for next year, instead of it being like we have it now, October, and we got to put a capital budget together in 8 weeks. It's extending the front end, not the back end.
Yeah, so you're allowing this year's Budget and Finance Committee to approve a project for next year.
No.
No, I don't think B&F will see it again until probably that February time frame.
Right.
I don't think it's going to speed up anything for B&F. No, I don't. But I was just concerned about the clubs because, you know, other projects could come to the forefront, you know, after that July 1st date, and that kind of tightened. I mean, it doesn't give them as much time, it seems.
Carl had an answer.
This is for Carl's
Let
planning
me
purposes.
clarify the verbiage. Chartered club capital project requests. That is all that is that chartered clubs that have a new leader and they're operating through the club. If the club says that they would like a new monitor station, they've had 6 months to think about that and just submit their request.
Okay.
It does not change the cycle of approval, and it's not even going to hit the committees until the policy timeframes of October and
Okay,
so
that's
forth.
clearer than mud, thanks.
That's good. Good job. Sue was first. Sorry, Bob.
Yeah, it's okay.
Good, Sue.
So as I understand this would give Carl time from July 1st, several months to maybe look into the exact cost and what this might involve. It gives him more time to do that kind of thing. Is that correct, Carl?
Yes, and this will also help understand that at next month's workshop, I will be presenting the same flow chart to you as the governing board that chartered clubs reviewed for your review and then possible approval at the governing board meeting in May.
Bob?
Well, I just simply want to say the wording says should be submitted. Doesn't mean it has to be submitted. Okay.
We're trying to help Carl and them get the process so they can get solid numbers for a good budget that we move forward with. That's what I see on this one. Any other comments or questions? Sharon?
I have the same one that Bob did. You need to change the should be to must. If you want it to be in, should be doesn't mean I have to have it in.
Yeah, but then you're limiting the club. Suppose something happens in August that has to be done. Now it can't be done. Maybe a safety issue. And what do? Let everybody work on safely for a year?
No, but I just saying that your comment was well taken.
No, I just was pointing out it doesn't mean they're now being locked out for making another one in September.
Okay, that's what I'm asking then. Is that
You're asking to lock it out, and it shouldn't be locked out.
is that correct?
According to the discussions with the chartered club committees and myself, my own opinion, I would prefer the should be, because if a club did come to us after July 1st and it was important, it would definitely take my full attention, and I would still put it into the beginning budget.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion.
Mr.
Second.
President.
Oh, Lou, I'm sorry.
Is there a maximum limit on time, Carl? You get a request in November, would you, even though it was an important request, maybe a safety request. So we're saying it should, and I'm in agreement with that. So there's some latitude for the clubs in case something arises. But is there a date at which you will no longer consider a request?
Yes, per policy, that is September. And then the absolute second policy behind that is the general manager receives the budget on December 1st.
Great, thanks.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and we have a second. Question is going to be called for. Voting a yay will change the verbiage as you see it. Voting nay will let it remain the same. Donna, you're first.
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Jim? Yes. Bob?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Yes.
Roberta? I had to read your name tag. I'm getting. And?
Yes.
Okay. So carried unanimously. Okay. Next on the agenda, Ann Brown, this is all about you.
Oh, yeah, you got that. I move that the governing board approve in total the expenditure for projects or expenses in the amount shown in the fiscal year 21-22 capital budget review of items for $50,000 to $99,999 and authorize the general manager to sign the contract purchase order and/or check for each project or expense.
Is there a second to that motion? Jim is second. Thank you. Discussion around it. You guys have all seen this slide. This has been available to us since the beginning of, not the beginning, the middle of February. We've had this on our agenda each and every meeting, both at the workshop and here. Is there any further discussion on this? Lou?
Yeah, I had asked, I'm in agreement that it needs to be replaced, but I'd asked a question if there was a more durable surface that we could install. If we know there's a problem with the tile because the tile's broken. Is there a more durable product that we can install that may alleviate the cracking in the future?
Carl?
Your notes are still fully being considered. I don't know how that'll work out in approval, but it is open, and your question was in my notes as far as selection of materials. I would imagine, though, that this is if it gets approved in the budget, it's a summer project, so any opinions on the final selection, I don't know how you would answer that.
Thank you.
Jim? Any other comments? Comments or questions? We have a motion, we have a second. Once again, if there's no other discussion, call for a question. A yay will be to allow the capital projects from $50,000 to $99,999 to be placed into the budget. Lou?
Approved.
Sharon?
Approved.
Roberta?
Approved.
Ann?
Approve.
Sue?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jim? Yes? Okay. Please make note, unanimously approved to move forward. And you got the laundry list now. What we're going to be going through is each one of the items over $100,000. Carl did a presentation at the BNF. I'm not going to have him go through it again because he's been through it probably a dozen times already. If there are questions on it, he's more than happy to answer it. We'll go through it. And this is yours.
Thank you, President George. We are going to do an individual motion for each majority vote. So number one, in line with the BNF committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $1,006,033,839 for golf maintenance, equipment, and vehicles.
Is there a second?
Second.
Bob is a second. Is there any discussion on this?
I have a comment to make.
Comment?
Yes. I would like to see us, I know we haven't in the past, but I just think that we should get a little more modern. I think that any board member should be able to remove any one of these items off of the list, and then we vote on all of the rest of them as one.
That would require a bylaw change, Jim, and the bylaw change would have to be approved by a vote of the membership. If we'd like to do that, the next, because this affects owner members' rights, so it would have to go that route. Sorry. Yeah, it does.
I just don't believe it, because we changed this thing. We changed it about when I was on the board. We did not do this originally. We voted on the whole thing.
Well, you still are, our
I
bylaws
disagree
say
with you.
we're supposed
That's
to have.
all. I'm arguing because I think you're wrong. We
Okay.
changed this about 5 years ago. When I was on the board, we used to vote for the whole thing. And there were some members of the board that said, that's not right. I don't want to vote for Charlie Brown's mobile. So we voted and we changed it and we voted for each item, which we're doing. And it just wastes a lot of time. If all of the board members are willing to not remove something, that means they're for it. So you vote the unanimous, whatever there are, 10 or 20.
Unanimous consent.
So I think you're wrong.
Well, I'll be looking it up right now. Okay, I'm good with that. Not a problem. As we're going forward, I'll just get, while I'm looking this up, is there any discussion on the singular line item? Hearing none, we'll go for a vote on this one. Lou?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Roberta?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Jim? Bob?
Yes.
And Kay, thank you. So that part is carried. Just a moment on this one. 5.3 of our capital expenditure budgeting. Each proposal capital budget item over $100,000 shall be individually considered and either approved, modified, or rejected by a vote of the governing board. That is a policy. Policy FI2, subsection 5.3. Okay? And that voted the governing board in our April regular meeting prior to approval of next year's annual financial plan.
So Ann asked if that was a policy. Is that the bylaws you're reading from, or the
No,
policy?
this is the policy. FI 12, 5.3.
Okay, so I thought what Jim asked was if it's in the bylaws. Am I mistaking?
It's the policy that we follow right now. If it's in bylaws, I'll have to look the bylaws up at the same time. But as of right now, the policy that is stated, that sits right here, is an individual line item.
But it could, but Jim's saying though is the policy itself could
Policy
be
can be
changed, not a
changed.
bylaw.
Yeah, and that's what
Policy
we
can be
did. We
changed.
did that about 4 years ago. We changed the policy. The board agreed that it was kind of stupid to sit here and make 20 motions when you're
Okay.
not opposing it.
All right,
That's
Jim,
all.
Jim, that's out of order. Okay? All right, right now the policy sits as we sit. If we'd like to change it, we can put on the workshop, talk about it, and have it changed next meeting. But right now, this is where we have to be. Okay, well, that's very good. I appreciate that. Ann, you're still up.
Thank you. In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $865,000 for irrigation and turf reduction at the Grandview Golf Course.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second it.
Lose a second. Any discussion on this? Bob?
No.
Nope. Any other discussion on this? Hearing none, we'll go for a vote. Jim? Bob?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Donna? Not Donna. Roberta?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes, and I didn't get to ask a question, I'm sorry, but does this, when you say turf reduction, is this to make us more in line with the water policies? Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood.
Lou?
Yes.
Okay, that, so ordered unanimously. You're next, still going, Ann. We got 13 of these.
Thank you. In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $380,000 for asphalt mill and resurface for Kuntz parking lots 1 and 2 at Kuntz Recreation Center.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Lou, second. Discussion? Ann?
Mr. President, I do want to mention that this had a lot of discussion at B&F. This was the only recommendation that was not unanimous, and part of the issue was the fact that Kuntz will be closed for the duration of this project. Am I correct, Carl?
That would be the original evaluation. The comments from your committee are definitely being taken under consideration. But I did mention that the cost savings or the efficiency and cost of this is one mobilization as opposed to making it convenient for our members and having half of it open, half of it closed. So.
Thank you. Part of the issues one of my members brought up was they wanted it to be done in 2 phases, and Carl told us that a lot of this equipment has to be leased. If it's leased in 2 different segments, it will add to the cost of it, so the cost might go up. So I just wanted to mention this was brought up if anyone didn't listen to the B&F committee meeting.
I have a question, and Ann, can you tell me, or Carl, when is this that it's supposed to be closed?
There's 2 options. The first option would be the summer commitment. This is technically a 2-part project if the second portion is approved of the lighting. So in starting in July or August, I would replace the lighting if approved, and then go into the asphalt removal in September. I would definitely hold all this off until Palm Ridge is complete so that we don't have another rec center down. And then if for some reason that staff or other comments says this is an inconvenience to our community in the summer, then I would consider doing it in May of 22.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because Stardust Theater and all the people that have the programs that are there, especially the Western, I know specifically for Western Airs because that's when they practice is starting the 1st of September for the December concerts. I don't know how that affects the theater groups as well.
Projects affect our community and their clubs often, and this is approximately a 3-week-long project.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Once again, hearing none. Yes, Jim.
That's the estimated time for the total. No, the lighting has no closure. You wouldn't even know that the lighting is going other than a couple barricades, but the asphalt portion would be approximately 3 weeks long.
Thank you.
Okay, and then there's another question.
Yes,
if that's
Sharon.
the case, why can't we do the lighting in September and the asphalt in August so that they aren't in the middle of trying to practice?
Again, the lighting portion has no bearing. You won't even know that they're doing the lighting.
Right. So why is it closed if you don't know they're doing it? I'm sorry, I'm missing something.
If you approve the lighting project, it has no effect to any user.
Okay.
I think what she's asking is, could you not do the parking lot first and the lighting?
No, I understand. No. Now I understand. I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
So, no, the lighting is important because if conduit and wiring has a break, I will need to saw cut areas of the parking lot to fix that wiring and conduit, and I don't want to do that on brand new asphalt.
Gotcha. Thank you.
President George, I will mention that one other comment that was made or question that was asked is if there is any expansion of pickleball at Kuntz, would that affect this asphalt milling and replacement? And Carl told us no, that would not.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, vote. Roberta?
Aye.
Ann?
Yes.
Sharon? Nope, sorry.
Yes.
Lou, didn't
Yes.
see you there. Sue? Bob?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Jim? Thank you. And you're still going on this.
In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $300,000 for replacement and expansion of the Beardsley Greenhouse at Beardsley Recreation Center.
Okay,
Second.
second? Okay, very good. Discussion. Lou?
Approve.
Sharon?
Are we in discussion?
We're in discussion.
I think this should be waiting until we get into the master plan, which Bill has originally said is going to be sometime completed in 8 months. So I don't see the rush to hurry up and approve this because maybe something different would come out of the master plan.
Roberta?
Yeah. Okay, this went through properties, and part of it is the county is requiring us not to have the greenhouse attached to the walls of the building as well as the sidewall there. And it is crumbling, so it is time for replacement. I don't think it would have anything to do with the master plan about club space, redoing the greenhouse for next budget.
Thank you.
But this
Sharon,
isn't-
go right ahead.
It is the expansion. It says expansion on here. So the reason I'm saying that also is because of the tax information that we're still doing. This is another one of the clubs that does a lot of sales to outside, so I don't understand why we're not waiting on it.
And
I have a little bit of a problem with the fact that currently they have 360 square feet, and that needs to be replaced. I'm just concerned that we're taking it up about 2.5 times and not sure why. I haven't seen anything other than the fact that the club had at one time said they might put some money in, they wanted to get a loan, that type of thing. I'm not sure why we are increasing it other than because the club would like to have that done. I understand the replacement. I'm not sure of the expansion.
I think I'm going to ask Carl this question. I'm going to jump in for a second. Carl, is the size of the greenhouse because they don't make the 320 what they currently have in that size now? Is this the prefab size that it comes with?
No particular size. Any relevant size to the club's growth and the ADA requirements. They had an opportunity to ask for 4 times the size if that's what they wanted to request to us, and they asked for it to be 960 square foot based on a blueprint of the manufacturer's options that fit their club. It was reasonable through properties, charter clubs, and BNF. Technically, you heard all of the same presentation. Their numbers of club membership justifies their increased need in space. This is what they asked for. This is where we moved forward with our budget planning.
Thank you. Appreciate it. So-
George, can I just make one other comment then? Because of the tax situation, though, is the club growth because they can sell to the outside or do something like that? Is that going to change? And if that changed, would the club then go down in numbers?
I don't think it has anything to do with that. Realistically, if the properties committee went through there, what we have there is basically falling apart. It's unrepairable, and it's attached to buildings that it shouldn't be. It's a multitude of issues. When I asked Carl about this, and is that it was not only the size of it, but we still have to replace the foundation that's there, of whether it's the current or the expansion or whatever. So it's kind of like value for the dollar that we're going to put out there. That's so. I'm sorry. Go right ahead. Nothing. Donna? You got anything?
No, I have a question. Can someone explain to me the need for a greenhouse in Arizona? I'm from Wisconsin, and I know why you have greenhouse there.
Keep it cool.
But Carl, just tell me why.
Well, first of all, you have one of the oldest chartered clubs here in Sun City West. They do their due diligence in growing desert plants every day. Those desert plants are susceptible to Arizona's temperatures and grow excellently inside of a greenhouse environment. I'm not defending the fact that, they absolutely need this or not, but that is how they operate. and Sun City operates that way. They do a little bit more dual purpose. They are more of a hydroponics than focusing on just more of a desert garden. But who's not to say that their club can't grow other things inside their greenhouse that are
Now legal in Arizona? No.
that are legal and
Homegrown's not all right for me.
If I may, we have an obligation when enough owner members sign up for clubs and they hit that magic number and they become chartered. And like Carl said, this is one of the oldest chartered clubs here, so there's a responsibility to serve them. The tax thing aside, these are supposed to be recreational and leisure clubs, and that's what gardening is, and that's what they're doing. Carl, I'm going to ask you on the spot. Do you have give me the number of members in that club?
I believe it 300-ish.
Yeah, that's the number I remember too.
And how many people can actually fit in the existing club we have?
5. And
Hence the need for space. And that's the thing that sold me on this, and not the loan issue. How much can you pay to get into this thing? Not pay for play type thing. It's really a kind of an organizational need. When you look at the number of people actually gardening, and I want to take the sales side out of it, it really is a hobby, I would think, and I hope that a lot of the clubs still see that too, as far as their C7 status. We'll get there. But as far as this goes, you're only serving 4 people. If there is anyone in there with a walker or a wheelchair, you've got no room.
And it's not ADA compliant.
And it's just compromising.
Okay, I'm in favor of the project, but I would just needed to understand. So we enhance the growing period by using this facility. And to me, if this club dwindles, this is a nice piece of property and a nice building that could be used for other things. And if they wanted to go into hydronic type things, this could be used for that. So that is looking toward the future. So, excuse me? What do we want to grow? No, not going there.
Legal growth. Donna, you got anything?
No.
Bob? Jim?
Well, you gave me a chance. I tried to get out of this, but I totally agree with this is a want. There's a part of it that is a need, and there's part of it that's a want. And in the past, we have asked the clubs, and I understand the tax thing and all that, but we have asked the clubs to participate. This club was willing to until we decided that we aren't going to ask them to do it anymore. Well, I think there's ways to get clubs to donate money. And if we're going to build this, I think they should participate. First of all, 90% of the benefit of the club is to sell merchandise. This isn't like any other club out there. You can go out there any day that there's somebody there and you can buy anything, because I've done it on a day that they aren't even open. And I don't disagree. If that's what we're going to do, if that's the reason we have the clubs open is to buy and sell stuff, so be it. But I do not believe we should be spending the extra money to build the want. That's my opinion. I don't know how you go about it without only building half of it, but that's what I would do if I were doing it.
It's a singular line item for being approved or not approved. Okay. So, is there any other discussion, Lou?
First of all, I believe it's needed. I think there's a safety issue. We have a county regulation issue where they don't want it attached to the building. It's not ADA compliant. We had a BNF presentation where they came in and talked about their existing sales, what they think their future sales would be. They're very successful in the sales arena. We approved the Metal Club, and there was a 501c7 issue there. I don't think we should penalize the Garden Club for the 501c7.
Thank you, Lou. Carl?
George, just for everybody's point of order, I just want to clarify that there is no county issue here. Okay, so I'm Roberto, I apologize, but there is no county issue here. And I just want to put that on record, that the building just is irreparable. It needs replacement, and a new building can be
Did I
put
not
there.
hear there was a county issue?
I've never brought anything to anybody's information about a county issue here, so.
Someone said something about a county issue. I don't know who it was. Oh, so there is not a county issue.
I'm,
According to Carl, there's not a county issue. Well, absent that, I still think with the safety issue and the disrepair and the 501c7 issue is going to be resolved. And at that point, we could, not saying we must, we could ask them for reimbursement.
Absolutely. Folks, any other discussion on this? If not, I'll call for a vote. Lou, you're gonna be first.
That would be a yes.
Yes. Sharon?
I'm a yes just because it's ADA non-compliant.
Roberta?
Yes.
Ann?
I'm voting no. I would vote yes for the need, but not for the want.
Sue?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jim? Okay, we have a 5-2. Excuse me, 6-2. That's why I'm not the treasurer. Thank God. Okay, so Ann, next victim.
Thank you. In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $296,125 for the shoreline reclamation project number 14 at Trail Ridge Golf Course.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Bob. Any discussion about this? It's not going to help your handicap, Lou.
Nothing helps that, George.
Anything about this?
I approve.
We haven't gone to a vote yet. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Lou, you're first then. You approve?
Well, I'll approve it.
Oh, I appreciate that. Sharon?
Approved.
Roberta?
Approve.
Ann?
Approve.
Sue?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay, unanimously approved. Next victim.
In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $160,000 for the aquatics lobby enclosure at Beardsley Recreation Center.
Okay, is there a second? There's a second by Roberta. Discussion. Yes, Lou. No discussion? When you point in your discussion, till I call for the question and we vote. Okay, we'll go, so no discussion, vote. Roberta, you're first.
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Lou?
Yes.
Okay, Ann?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Jim? Unanimously carried. Next.
In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $150,000 for the R.H. Johnson Environmental Services Maintenance Office.
Is there a second to this?
Second.
Okay. I'm going to just jump in here. I don't think there should be any discussion about this. When you see the picture that this is, and our employees are in this way, there should be not. I'm going to ask for discussion. Go on. Any
Anybody
discussion?
that votes no on this should go to jail.
Well, Jim, I wholeheartedly concur.
Yeah.
In fact, any other discussion?
No, just that I want to agree with him because I started this as when I was on the properties committee. I didn't even want to walk in there to inspect it, let alone.
We sit here and we talk about Del Webb standard, and our employees are lit. I'm sorry. This is one. Jim?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Roberta?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes.
Lou?
Approved.
And I will make my once in a while president. Yes, I wanted this. This is something that needs to be done instantaneously. Thank you. Next victim.
In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $150,000 for parking and walkway lighting replacement at Kuntz Recreation Center.
Okay, is there a second to this?
I second it.
Okay, second by Lou. Obviously, we've had this discussion because the parking lot part came first, so I don't think there's a whole lot of talk that has to go with this.
I just wanted to hear from Carl why we're waiting, why we didn't do this when we were doing it before. Why are we doing it now instead of earlier when we had it all tore up?
Well, the other projects really had nothing to do with this. This came about in our regular cycle of budgeting, and quite honestly, the last year's budget was under such scrutiny due to the COVID that this would have just been a bigger impact to your decision making.
Any other comments or questions? Lou? Lou, go ahead.
Approved.
Sharon?
Approved?
Roberta?
Approved.
Ann?
Approve.
Sue?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Jim? Nod your head, yes. Good job. Okay, so ordered. Next victim.
In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $120,000 for pool area lighting improvement at Beardsley Recreation Center.
Second.
There's a second and a motion. I'm just going to jump in for a second here. Carl, with this contractor's bringing out lighting before we have a contract this to show us what it's going to look like.
That is what Musco has offered us, and Russ and I will be definitely taking advantage of that. This is not a project we take lightly. We want to solve this lighting issue, and if their lighting that they display, they are not going to set up the whole entire facility with 100% lighting, but they will give us areas of lighting, and we will be able to see the change in that building.
Okay, this is before we even go to a contract.
Before we go to contract.
Thank you. Discussion about this. Well, Jim, we're being from Jersey, swim with the fishes. We don't do a whole lot. Is there any discussion on this? All right, going for a vote. Jim? Bob?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Roberta?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yes?
Joe?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Next.
In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $102,487 for 9 heating or HVAC units at Beardsley Recreation Center, R.H. Johnson Recreation Center, and the Pebblebrook Golf Course office.
Is there a second to this?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion about us putting replacement air conditioners in? We only live in Arizona. Jim, you're going to be the ice cube guy.
Yeah. My question is, and I think I know the answer, but I would like to hear it from our esteemed people down there. Are these on a schedule now so that we have so many every year?
You made Russ get up.
Absolutely they are. When you have 240 of them, they better be on some kind of schedule, right?
Well, we didn't before, so.
We are still finishing off a list from 2 years ago along with this current list that we're doing. They were both very heavy years as far as unit counts. This happens to be our first light year, as you can see. And then we also have the ones that don't make it to their scheduled life cycle that we end up popping up throughout the year as well. But yes, they are all on a routine cycle.
How long
to
is
answer
it
your
supposed
question.
to last?
18 years.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. I'll go around. Bob?
Yes.
Jim? Donna?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Roberta? Sharon?
Approved?
Lou?
Approved.
Didn't think anybody was going to not approve air conditioners in Arizona.
In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $101,846 for 20 new golf carts for golf operations.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second by Bob. Discussion?
What is the payoff year? How many years does it take to pay one off? How many? 3?
3
Thank you.
years. And the average fleet is approximately 10 years, Pat? Yeah. So, okay. Is there any other discussion about this? And once again, Pat, I have to thank you for the presentation about the electric and looking in the future for that. Very important. It's a good thing. Thank you so much for doing that. And Bill, also thank you for allowing him to do that. That's as much forethought as we have. Call for the question, Lou?
Is this the additional carts, Pat?
No, this is replacement.
These are replacement. Correct. Thank you.
Lou?
Approved.
Sharon?
Approved?
Approve. Ann?
Approve.
Sue?
Approve.
Donna?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, unanimously done. Next.
In line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $100,000 for wall and decor improvements in the pool and spa areas at Beardsley Recreation Centers.
Is there a second?
Second?
Carl, I know you've been up at that microphone. You're going to put in for mileage today. But this is the improvement of where the fountains are in the back, and the removal of that carpet, and the upgrading, and the hopefully the rubberized flooring that we all love over at Kuntz in the spa area.
This is actually for wall paint and wainscoting decor throughout the spa and the pool area. In your budget approval of the items below $50,000 is the carpet portion.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Is there any redesign of that carpet area?
Yes, in the carpet portion of the project, we will remove those fountains, pour concrete back there, get it flush, remove the wall feature that's in the corner, and make that a multi-purpose space, most likely rubber pellet flooring, like at Kuntz.
Any other comments or questions?
So there's still no reason for it to be there. I mean, we still haven't got a purpose other than people sitting, which they can't sit.
I'm sure that the people will use it randomly, for multi-purpose, and the rec centers will find a use for it.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? Jim, you're first on this one, yeah? Yes, Bob?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Roberta?
Yes.
Sharon?
Approved.
Lou?
Approved.
Okay. Believe it or not, to the last item.
And finally, in line with the Budget and Finance Committee recommendation, I move that the governing board approve $100,000 in allowances for safety and structural integrity.
Okay. Is there a second? Second. Okay. Discussion. Hearing none. Lou?
Approved.
Ann? Ann?
Oh, approve.
Roberta? Sharon?
Approved.
Sue?
Yes.
Jim? Yes. Bob?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Okay. What a long agenda on this one was. Okay. Now we move into the most important thing, director comments. And I'm going to start with our president-elect, Sue.
Ooh, gives me no moment to think.
Okay, never mind then.
Come back to me.
Okay, no problem. Donna?
No comment.
Bob? Jim?
I'm just going to restate for the next year's board, get rid of this ridiculous method of doing this. There is no reason whatsoever that you can't remove each item, any item that anybody wants. If all 13 wanted to be removed, fine. But anybody can remove it, and then you discuss it, and then vote on the whole thing. You can change this policy. You've got a whole year to do it.
Thank you, Jim. Lou?
No comment.
Sharon?
One comment in regards to the information that Bill gave us, I think, at the workshop regarding the $30,000 for the art and design. As I understand it, no other committee has ever had funding that is not like a contingency type fund that I can find. So I'm asking what the policy is in regards to the spending of the $30,000, if what it's going to be used for, or when that comes up, at what point, because when Sue made the presentation to the board, it was, we're not spending any money until we brought something back to the board. It wasn't like you just go out and pay for materials or do a project without the board having an agreement with it. So where does that fit in regards to that?
Thank you, Sharon. And George, I can defer to Sue on this one, but this was placed in the budget as a contingency item with a new committee being formed, looking at potential enhancements and improvements to the association. So when those ideas and concepts get brought forward, a decision will be made at that point. And I defer to Sue as to the direction of that community, or the committee.
Well, just as a clarification, if it is a board committee, all they can do is recommend. They can't implement anything. So if it continues as a board committee, that means everything would need to come back to us. So then that forces us to be in control of the funds.
Okay.
If we decide that this committee should be something different and not a part of a board committee, then we would take some other direction, and there would be a policy developed in terms of how you access the funds and that kind of thing. I think that our committee is doing a lot of hard work. I'm really pleased with the high-quality people that are on the committee and the data collection that we're involved with right now. And I think at the end of May, which is our last meeting, that will be one of the discussion items in terms of how should this function in the future, and how would you access the money, and how how would you go about those kinds of things. I just don't think that we're there yet with figuring that out. But in terms of safety and concern about the $30,000, board has control over that at this point. And that's for next year's budget, so this committee wouldn't be accessing any of that.
Okay.
Does that answer?
Yeah, that's fine, thank you. The second part was, I just wanted to thank whoever did the big, large dog park, that it was being well used. Someone had made a suggestion to me, and I did give it to Dave Bennett, about the fact that when older people pick up after their dogs, they sometimes get stuff on their hands, and they were using the drinking fountain to wash their hands because there wasn't sinks there on the back side. So I know they were looking at it, and I just, since I'm there every day, they were asking me what had happened to their suggestion. So I just didn't know where to refer them in general. But the second thing was also ADA-wise, the door where you park your golf cart is handicap accessible. It's great. When you try and open the gate, if you're holding a dog and you are disabled at all, you can't let go of your cane and hold your dog and open the door because the button is on the inside. So it's very difficult if you're disabled. And I'm just making the comment that if you could have a button on the outside as well as on the inside, it would be fine. It's made that way, I know, so that when you're inside this little cage area with your dog, you can open the door to get out. But when you're trying to get in, it's on the inside. You have to reach through the gate and turn it. And it's difficult. So just passing along the information.
Anything else, Sharon?
Nope.
Thank you.
By the way, Sue, there's a lot of painters over on Beardsley if you're interested.
Yeah.
Roberta?
That's not our project.
Roberta?
No comment.
Ann?
Comment?
Donna? Bob? Sue?
Okay, so now I'm going to respond to Jim's suggestion. And I think that that's one thing we'll try to retain and take a look at for changing the policy if the new board would like to do so, because it's not a bad idea. And I will write it down so that I hope we can retain that idea.
Anything else, Sue? No, I'm just going to, Directors-elect, do you have any comments or questions? Harry? That was Harry. If it's not in the minutes need to be amended. Go ahead. So?
The president has the right to create special committees, and with the consensus of the board. So if I remember rightly, we didn't need to take a vote because there was consensus.
Not according to the bylaws.
Bylaws state that you have to have a board vote on a special committee.
No, incorrect. You need consensus, not a vote.
So you can achieve consensus by looking around and everybody's nodding and saying, yeah, let's get this committee going. then you have consensus. You should probably state that, maybe that wasn't stated at that point to be put into the minutes. But you do not need to do a vote if you have consensus.
Anything else, Brother Harris? Lisa? Okay, any comments from our guests remotely? Do we have any? Any comments from our guests here? Yeah, please report to them. Okay, I know. Up to the microphone, please state your name and your recreation number.
My name is Terrence Grom, and my recreation number is 126461. My question is, our rules and regs state that each homeowner is required to purchase at least one rec card per household. How do we ensure that that is being done? And then how do we follow up on that each year to make sure that those fees are being collected?
Okay, if there it is, what it is you're attached to the deed, and we have a person who takes care of that. Her name is Deb Long. She reviews every transaction, real estate transaction, to make sure that that is appropriate on that one. Well, people are not required, one homeowner is required to belong to the association. If there's a second person in the house and they don't want to belong, that's not what we do. However, that person cannot use our facilities.
I understand that, but after year one, then how do we follow up to make sure that the next year the
Well,
rec
if
fees
the
are
next year, if they do not renew their membership card, it becomes invalid when they go to one of our facilities. And
George, let me defer to
Go ahead.
Katie.
Go ahead.
Let me defer to Katie.
Go ahead. I'm going to button my yap.
For the question,
Whoa.
our software system ensures that every single property has a primary person attached to that. They can't exist without a primary, and those primaries are billed every single year. And through our aging, we can see if someone hasn't paid, and then we start the collection process according to our policy. So it's pretty well digitized, and with the help of staff to follow up on those that get behind in their dues, we do ensure everyone is paying. At least one person on every property is paying every year.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the audience? None on there? With that, I just want to take a couple minutes out for myself. I don't want to belabor this meeting any longer than we have to. First off, thank you for all who were elected today to positions. Thank you so much for wanting to serve on this committee. I thank for you people who are directors-elect. And big kudos, I really want to tell you, is the staff that's here. The governing board brought an issue up there, and Pat and Golf answered the call that one of our directors had. And that's a great thing. And I think that's one of the great things that we have had over the last year, that staff and the board are able to talk and discuss things appropriately. With that, I will adjourn the meeting. Our next meeting is the May 7th workshop. Be right here. And congratulations to all. Thank you.